Hi, this is Teresa at Pumpkin Glass, and thank you for joining me to learn how to make these tile bracelets with Tilla beads on memory wire. We are coming up to our first Friday here next week in Peoria, and we always have a make and take class, and this is the one that we will be doing. I will have kits for these available at pumpkinglass.com on our website that you can purchase. And if you're local, be sure to join us on April 4th, which is Friday. This is 2025, in case you're viewing this much later. And we are in our studio here in Peoria. So let's get started. You kind of saw what they look like, and the memory wire does come in different sizes. So some of these you'll notice look quite a bit smaller than others. This actually, the smaller one is the 2.25 memory wire, and that fits an average wrist size. If you're 6 3/4 or larger, you might want to pick up the large memory wire, which instead of being 2 1/4 inch diameter, it is 2 1/2 inch diameter, and that 1/4 inch makes a big difference. So this is the 2 1/2 inch diameter memory wire, which is better if you have a wrist. So you will need about 2 1/2 rings out of your memory wire. You will also need 30 Tilla beads. No, I'm sorry, I misspoke. You will need 22 Tilla beads, either all one color, which I have here that I'll be using today, this bracelet. Most of these use only one color. Or you could have 2 colors. This one, see how I'm alternating pairs of 2 of the full Tilla beads in 2 colors. So you can do that also. And then you'll need these half Tillas, which are basically the same as this large square bead, but they've been cut in half, as the name suggests. You'll need one color that has a quantity of 30, and another color that has a quantity of 12, at least for the pattern I'm doing, but you could obviously use this technique with just about any combination of colors. For tools, you're going to need round nose pliers and memory wire cutters. You never cut memory wire with your good pliers, because this is full spring hard stainless steel, and you will notch them in the shape of the wire if you try to use them. So I've got my coils here. This is the big package, so that comes with 70 turns, but you can also buy these in a quantity of 12 turns. So you want to cut it with an overlap of about an inch. See how this is going to overlap where I cut it. So I've got about an inch overlap, because when you put the bracelets on, these included, they pull open a little bit as you know, to adjust to your wrist size. So you want to have an overlap in there so that it can accommodate a lot of different sizes. And I need 2 of these. So let me clip the other one, and again, I've got about a little more than an inch maybe of overlap. And first thing I'm going to do is turn 2 loops, one on each end, at the end of the bracelet, to keep the beads from coming off. And as I said before, this stuff is really hard, so it's a little bit different than working with soft wire. You're basically going to use your pliers to hold on to the wire and then push it to make a curve, because you can't really turn it tight. So I'm grabbing the very end of the wire towards the very tip of my pliers because I want a small loop. I'm going to hold it there firmly, and I'm going to push with my thumb as I turn. I'm pushing the wire, whoops, around the pliers until, let me check it here, until it touches. And actually, I'm a tiny bit short. So there we go on that one. I'm going to do the same thing on the other one again. Hold towards the end of your pliers. You shouldn't feel any wire sticking out the end here. Use your finger and check it. And I'm pushing hard. You can't dent this stuff, so squeeze it with your pliers as hard as you have to so it stays still while you push it around the nose until you've got it shut. Oh, I left out something that you do need. Sorry, you're going to need two. These are called ornos. They're made by Symbol, and they're half tilla beads, but they're made out of metal instead of glass. And let me show you the name because it's Greek. So these are ornos, half tillas, and they come in different metal colors. So these are the silver ones. And I am using those beads on each end of my bracelet because these beads are so fine and thin that they cannot take the pressure that you have to put on this wire to turn the circles. So when you try to close the other end, they break off. So I had to find a solution to that. So using the metal tilla beads on the ends allows you to turn these circles when you're done at the other end to keep working. Now you can see how I'm fighting with it here to keep it from crossing, the tails of wire from crossing over each other. Hence, we're going to use some painter's tape, which seemed out of place, I'm sure, at first. So I'm going to take a piece of that off. It doesn't need to be very big. I can find the start of my tape here. There we go. So just pull off, I don't know, what is that? 1.5 inches or so. I'm going to go to the end of the bracelet. And if you have my kit, these loops were already made for you to begin with. But I talk about wrapping one end around one wire first, and that's because I want to make sure I have a gap between these two. So I'm going to wrap one end of the tape around one of the wires and stick it together, okay? And I'm doing this while I'm pinching that metal bead. I'm going to pull it across the back and kind of push them open with my fingers about the width of one of these beads. And then I'm going to bring it over and keep that slot and kind of burnish it down, the tape down here in the center. See that? And I can tear the rest of it off, but I just wrapped it around a little bit more. And don't worry if these, pull up or down, the wires move up and down inside the tape, that doesn't matter. But at least now, with this end taped with them apart, it's going to reduce the amount of time you'll find these two twisted around each other as you work. Once they get twisted and you keep adding beads at this end, when you take the twist out, then the beads are going to flip upside down. And a lot of these colors have coatings on them, and it's just on one side. For example, I'm using these matte silver beads. They're white on the back and only silver on the front. Actually, that one was not a good example. Here's one. White on the back and matte silver on the front. So obviously you might not want them flipping upside down. So now that we're set, you can get started. Let me work my way to the end. Another thing I found is if you work with your wire now, see how one is a little shorter than the other? If you work with it with one longer than the other, it's actually easier to string the beads on. So first thing we're going to start with is one of the tilla beads, which is one of these that's a full square. And this lets me put the wire in one hole and then the other instead of trying to thread it through both holes at the same time, which is why I work with these offset. You don't need to slide it around. You can just leave it sit there. And I decided I'm going to use a black one in between these two. These don't have a side, so it doesn't matter how you put it on. Some of the tillas do, some of them don't. And so that is my first repeat. And this, if you're following the pattern, I'm calling color B. It's the one that you have the fewest beads of. You have 12 of those and 30 of the others. So now I'm going to go to a color A bead, and I'm paying attention to make sure that my coating is facing up. I need 3 of these. And if you get a bead that it just won't go on, there's just something wrong with the hole, just set it to the side and get another one. If you have a kit, there are extras in your kit. Sometimes the holes are clogged. Okay, so now I've put on 3 of the color A beads, and that is 1 full repeat. So I'm going to keep building this bracelet by repeating that pattern. These have gotten lined up, so I'm going to push it back because it's easier when they're not the same length. So again, in this case, one of the nickel beads, and then a color B bead, which in this case is black, another nickel bead, okay, and I need 3 more of the A color half tillas. Oh, I got them even again. It's always harder when they're the same length. And if you'd, I mean, you can do it either way. You can pull the other one out first. I don't know, maybe it matters if you're left-handed, which one you want longer, but okay, so that's 2 and 3. So I have 2 repeats on. I'm going to just slide them down to the tape for now, and I'm going to keep going. So if you have more colors, you know, these could be a different pair in each section, or if you have 3 colors of these evenly divided for the count on the bracelet, you could always make the center one a 3rd color. But this is probably how I've made most of the kits. So I'm going to continue to repeat this pattern until I have about 1.5 inches left, and then I will pick it up there. Okay, I am back here with a little pair of scissors. Don't want to, probably wouldn't get out wire cutters because it would probably be too easy to accidentally clip the wire. So I'm just clipping off the tape down the center and pulling it off around the sides. while I hold on to this other end. So I'm going to slide this out. And now I'm going to finish up by adding more beads until I am about a 1/2 inch from the end. So now I am ending this bracelet. I had a little bit of a snafu with the last bracelet, so, or actually with my video. So I'm re-recording the end, and I've got a 1/2 inch of wire left here. You want to make the ends even before you turn the loops, and if the bracelet is laying correctly, then you know that your wires are the same length. This one right now, even though I've got the wires the same length, see how it's kind of turned to the side? Which means I think that in actuality this one right here is a little longer. See, I pulled it up and now the bracelet's laying square and doesn't have the curve that it did before. I think I need to trim this end a bit to make them the same, so my bracelet lays straight. And I'm going to slide on this last tilla bead, which is the metal one. You want to end your bracelet with a metal bead. Told you I have trouble when these wires are the same length, but there we go. So now that that's on, I'm ready to turn my loops like I did on the other end. You can get them started by turning them both together, or you can do it one at a time. Actually, since I'm having trouble keeping these straight, I'm going to do it one at a time here. So the first one, I'm going to grab it here with the end of my pliers and hold on to it. Not very well. I'm going to hold that back under my fingers. And I'm going to push the bracelet, down with my thumb to make that loop and finish it so that it's touching. And then let's do this side. And grab that end and do the same thing. And turn that one up. And even them out. And I've got them turned. Looks like I've got one a little bit taller than the other here. So I'm going to loosen this first one up a little bit. Looks like I overturned it. And straighten that out. And there we go. We are finished with our memory wire bracelet. So thanks for joining us. You can get your kits for this and other projects on our website at pumpkinglass.com. And be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you.